What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I am back with you guys with another video, and I'm here with my Pittsburgh Steelers 2021 wide receiver preview. Going to be going over the current wide receivers on the Steelers roster. Before I get into it, make sure that you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. Help me reach my goal of 15,000 subscribers. I want to hit 15K before the start of the upcoming NFL season. I know we can do it. Share the video on your social media pages with your friends, family, and acquaintances because it helps with the YouTube search algorithm, and it also helps spread the word of JT Sports. When you look at the Steelers wide receiver position, this definitely is one of the best wide receiving groups in all of the NFL when everybody's playing up to their full potential. The thing is, last year there was a lot of inconsistency out of the wide receivers. When you look at how talented guys like Judith Mcshuster, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypoo are, there just wasn't really a lot of consistency down the final stretch of the 2020 regular season. You had Deontay Johnson, who was top 5 in drop passes last year, and the wide receiver core overall, despite how talented this group is, they just didn't really perform all that well at times. They had a combined total of 44 drops and 7 drop touchdowns. So when you look at the Steelers, you're looking for more consistency this year. Now, obviously, we know that the talent is there. Deontay Johnson easily could have went for 1,200 yards last year if he didn't have so many drops. Chase Claypool probably could have went for over 1,000 yards if the Steelers didn't ghost him in the second half of last year. So this is a wide receiver room that has tons of talent, tons of depth, tons of potential. It just all comes down to consistency. Now, you look at Juju Smith-Schuster. He is the veteran of this wide receiver room. He had 97 receptions for 831 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. Now, he's playing on a 1-year deal, still looking to prove himself and find a long-term deal next season, rather that be with the Steelers or that be elsewhere. Now, he did have offers to play for Kansas City, Baltimore, but he decided to come back to Pittsburgh and take less money. Now, you look at Juju, I think he was pretty solid last year. He definitely was pretty reliable on third downs. I don't really have any gripes on when it comes to his performance, really. Now, everybody, of course, bashes Juju because of his TikTok antics, him dancing in the middle of visiting teams' logos and whatnot. And I understand why that can frustrate a lot of people, especially when the performance wasn't there at times. But overall, Juju Smith-Schuster was pretty consistent for the majority part of last year. Now, hopefully, he can mature more because, believe it or not, he is a leader in this locker room. He definitely is a veteran in that wide receiver room. He has to help out some of the younger wide receivers on this roster like Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson. Now, you look at Chase Claypool, this guy had a really good rookie year. He probably could have had a better rookie season if he didn't get ghosted in the offense like out of nowhere, like during the second half of the regular season. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, the first couple of weeks, like, he was on fire, and then after that, week 10 comes around in Pittsburgh, forgets that this guy even existed. So overall, he caught 62 catches for 173 yards and 9 touchdowns. Like, this guy was a machine. Hopefully Pittsburgh can get him going this year. I think he could end up having a breakout year. He probably could be a Pro Bowler. He probably could go for over 200 yards. Like, I think the sky is the limit for how good Chase Claypool can be. This guy has great speed, great length. This guy is a red zone monster. Like, there's nothing that Chase Claypool cannot do. I definitely think he is going to be one of the best wide receivers in this receiving room by the end of next year, if you don't consider him to be already. And he probably could end up being a Pro Bowler if we're able to get him the ball this year. So I'm expecting big things out of Chase Claypool. I know a lot of people have compared Chase Claypool to Calvin Johnson and whatnot. I think comparing any young wide receiver to a great wide receiver like Calvin Johnson, kind of puts a lot of pressure on those guys. So I'm not going to say he could be the next Calvin Johnson, but I do think he has potential to be a really good wide receiver, and I could see him making a Pro Bowl this year. Definitely if Pittsburgh can find a way to get him the ball. Like they last year at the first half of the season, there were a lot of creative ways that Pittsburgh gave him the ball, like especially inside the red zone. We saw him score a couple of touchdowns on like jet sweeps or what. So for Pittsburgh, it's going to come down to new offensive coordinator Matt Canada and Ben Roethlisberger to find ways to get Chase Claypool involved and hopefully not ghost them like how they did in the second half of last year. Now moving on to Deontay Johnson. I feel like Deontay Johnson is the best overall wide receiver in terms of skill set and potential. And yes, I do feel like he has more potential than Chase Claypool because Deontay Johnson is going to be the guy who does the dirty work underneath. He also can take the top off the defense. Like this guy can do it all. And we saw that at times. He had some really good games, but he also had a lot of games that he struggled where he dropped a lot of passes. And if Deontay Johnson only dropped like half of those passes that he dropped last year, he probably would have been a Pro Bowler. That's how good he was at times. He had 88 catches on 923 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, when I look at Deontay Johnson, I compared him a lot to Antonio Brown, just the way that he runs route. He's probably the best route runner on the team, and he also is really dangerous and really elusive in the open field, which is why I gave him that Antonio Brown comparison. A lot of people have compared him to Antonio Brown over the last couple of years, and I definitely saw that last year. So I feel like Deontay Johnson definitely should be in for a pretty good year. He had a pretty good year last year if you don't factor in the drops, and drops definitely are something that you can work on. Like Deontay Johnson has all the tools to be a great wide receiver. He's great getting off the line. He runs great routes. It all comes down to his ability to catch the football, which is really important at the end of the day, because it doesn't matter how good you are at the other things. Because I had a coach of mine in the past tell me that your job as a wide receiver is to catch the ball, and if you can't catch the ball, then we're going to find somebody else who can catch the ball. And he got benched a couple of times as well. So for Deontay Johnson, I definitely feel like the sky's the limit for the guy. I think this is the best wide receiver on the roster. I think he has more potential than anybody on this team, even more than Chase Claypool. Like I feel like Deontay Johnson has like a lot of Devontae Adams, AB written all over him. So if he can just hold on to the football, he definitely can be in for a really good year. Then you have James Washington. Now James Washington was probably the most reliable wide receiver on the team, and he's really underrated. Reminds me of a lot of Emmanuel Sanders when it comes to in terms of how Emmanuel Sanders was looked, because Emmanuel Sanders was really undervalued and nobody really knew how good he was until he left Pittsburgh and signed with Denver. If James Washington went to another team, I definitely feel like he would gain way more recognition than what he does now for Pittsburgh, because he made a lot of big plays and a lot of big games for Pittsburgh. He had some key third down catches that kept the drive alive. He had some big touchdown grabs as well, and I know the stat sheets don't reflect that, but James Washington is really the most reliable option on the Steelers team. So I don't think he gets enough recognition. I definitely feel like if he was to go to another team, he could end up breaking out like we saw out of Emmanuel Sanders when he signed with the Denver Broncos. Then you got Anthony Johnson, Ray McCloud. Now, Ray McCloud is more of a special teams guy, but he did get a little bit of playing time last year on offense in certain times due to, you know, the lackluster performance from the wide receiver position. Then you got Anthony Johnson out of Buffalo. Didn't really see any of him, but I think he's definitely a name to monitor during preseason. He's not a burner. He's not a guy who's going to make a lot of guys miss after the catch, but he is pretty reliable. He does have really strong hands as well, so keep an eye out for Anthony Johnson throughout training camp in the preseason. You also have Cody White, who was on the practice squad last year. I think he'll probably be like a fringe roster guy who is on the bubble of making it on the roster or end up on the practice squad. You got Tyler Simmons. He was on the Houston Texans practice squad. He's either going to be a special teamers or he's probably going to be another practice squad guy. You got Matthew Sexton, you got rookies Isaiah McKay, Rico Bussey. Rico Bussey is interesting because he is a little bit of like that Ryan Switzer, that slot gadget guy who probably could end up having a role when it comes to punt return, kick return, or whatnot. Overall, this is a really good receiver room, and I think a lot of people forget how good of a receiver group that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. This is definitely a top 10 group of wide receivers. It all comes down to everybody being able to play up to their full potential, being able to make sure that they're able to, you know, secure two hands on the football and come down with it. You look at Deontay Johnson, you look at Chase Claypool, like the talent is there. Like when you have young wide receivers, you're going to have a lot of growing pains. You're going to have drops. You're going to have some inconsistent performances, and I think Mike Tomlin realized that, which is why he didn't put any of these guys in the doghouse. Like anytime somebody got benched, like when Deontay Johnson got benched, he ended up getting right back into the game a couple of like downs later. So obviously Mike Tomlin realizes that with young wide receivers are going to come times when you have growing pains, but I definitely feel like this year this wide receiver group should have everything figured out and they should be clicking on all cylinders. So let me know how you guys feel about the wide receiver position for the Steelers this season. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.